With the launch of Operation Neon Dawn for Rainbow Six Siege, some massive changes have been brought into the game, especially for operators such as Jaeger, Echo, and Hibana, all to fine-tune the meta. Neon Dawn only launched a few short weeks ago, and so far I've found it to be one of my favourite seasons of Siege so far, and hence this video will offer some of my first impressions of the season so far. First up, possibly the biggest addition to the game, is Aruni, the brand new operator. The new defender who is able to pack a punch with a robotic arm, DMR and Rooney main weapons, and Suya Gates as a gadget. Although she's not someone that I would tend to play because I'm not a fan of the DMRs in the game, the Rooney I find to just be a very weak weapon in general. I have found that she is one of the most useful ops on a team, with her ability to cut off areas of access and entrances for the enemies to get into rooms. Just in general, it's just not someone that I would normally play because I'm not really a DMR person myself. And the melee hitting the walls is very anti what I do, as I tend to just use them for peek holes and get people who's caught off guard. So your gates are quite an important gadget on a team. However, going against them as someone who doesn't have flashes or grenades or maybe a camera that they can use, it can tend to be a nightmare trying to get into the room or trying to peek round to see any hits. Going up against a DMR on defense can be quite a terrifying thing, especially with a 1.5, depending on the types of angles she's able to get. However, it can also be detrimental to her, as accuracy is quite a key thing in Siege. And if you just spray and pray, it's likely that it's going to be more problematic than helpful in trying to win a round. This season included a reworked map for the rank pool. It was Skyscraper, and in my opinion this was a very much needed rework, as spawn peeking was an absolute nightmare, especially from one side. Now with some of that took out, it helped pushes a lot more. However, the map has become very open and something which is very dangerous to try and look around. With it being very big as well, it's easy to get lost, but once you learn the map, it'd be something which gets quite easier. But as someone who tends to exclusively play ranked and unranked, it's not a map that'll come up a lot. And especially early on in the season, it's something which gets banned quite a lot. And last season we saw this with the likes of Chalet. And I just can't believe how bad got took out of the map pool. Easily one of the best maps in the game that nobody really knows how to play. But that's just me preference really. The map itself has brought in quite a few new entry points as well. A number of new windows in a lot of closed off areas has made trying to find a spot that you'd like a bit awkward. Especially for sites such as Bar and Grill, which tend to be more attackers coming from one side or rather staying outside. And in general, the map has more of a focus for attackers getting into sites now, especially for karaoke room upstairs. So this season saw quite a few changes to operators. First one I'm going to talk about is Jaeger, as it's probably the biggest so far. Now before, Jaeger would have 3 ADS devices which would have 2 charges each to take down gadgets, so that'd be 6 gadgets in total. With the changes now, the ADSs now have infinite charges and recharge over 10-second periods. Massively, I think this is a very positive change for Siege, as it's a very gadget focused meta at the second. Everyone's bringing grenades, frags, stuns, all to burn the ADSs previously. Now you can less focus on that and more focus on pushing and being able to take on battles head on and frag. At first it would have felt like it's something that would have changed the meta massively, but it really hasn't. Jaeger's still one of the most used ops that I've saw in ranked. I can say it being like this for quite a while throughout the season, or at least till next, as more operator changes are more than likely to come. Hibana also got a major change, so now she's able to set her X-Kairos device to whether it launches either 2, 4 or 6 pellets. I found this a very pro attacker move, especially when breaching 4 hatches in the likes of walls and opening holes to peek. This change also helps with not having a more reliance of Thermite and Ace as well. But it's also one of them ops where it's just not going to be picked every time, unlike Ace, who has a much stronger gun, and whose breaching devices take way less time than Hibana's to fully open. The last major change for an op was Echo, whose cams are now visible when they're on the ceiling. With Echo, I found there not to be a really happy medium. He's either overpowered when they're invisible or underpowered when they're visible. No matter what change they make to him, there's just not that balance. And with this change, his pick rates went way down whenever he's not being banned as well. And although he's important for stopping the defuse, it's pretty much pointless having him because the enemy teammates are just going to be able to see where it is and take it out, forcing the Echo to then push the side, especially if they're the last alive on their team. The last thing I want to touch on this video is the Legacy mode which was introduced. This mode says you go back to Vanilla Siege where it was 10 ops, right when the game first launched in December 2015. And as someone who didn't play it at launch and only got into it at Parabellum, it's mad to see how much the game's changed, especially with Jaeger, Bandit and Ash having ACOGs and not really experiencing that. I know a season or two after Ash started, then Ash lost that ACOG and was really relegated to having a hollow or either a reflex sight. And it really feels good to have the old plane, old house and old Hereford base back. Balancing issues and all. House being that classic 1v1 fight. Hereford being the place where there's 50 rooms to try and hide. And plane trying not to get spawn peeked by two defenders who now have ACOGs. It's something that I found very enjoyable and actually really love. It's something that I feel should stick around for a while. And if they continue in this direction, then there's no reason they can't do a year 1, 2, 3, etc. for this. Although it's a mode that represents Vanilla Siege, it's not really Vanilla Siege in its fullest, as Capcans still only do 50 damage, whereas at launch they would do 100 and kill instantly. And Tachanka still has these LMG primary instead of it being a standardised turret. I've also found the likes of the USP to be a much better gun, especially because it has that 2.5 sight, which wasn't there when I first got into the game. And it's made that weapon more bearable and more controllable, and it feels like it's got zero recoil. So anyways guys, this was my thoughts on Operation Neon Dawn so far. Leave a comment below and tell me what you've liked about the season so far. Thank you guys for watching, I'll see you on the next one.